Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing an Evil Twin deck profile. So this is a really interesting deck that basically is about YouTubers, which is what's really crazy about this deck. I really love the concept and the art style of the deck. It's really neat, and I really love the way that it plays too, because basically it's a link climb deck that you're going to be climbing into some really powerful link monsters like Unchained Abomination and some other really powerful link 4 monsters using your evil twins and your live twins to get you there where you need to go. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have all those awesome rewards like getting your name description for every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Live Twin Yugioh. Yugioh is really good in the deck because basically both of your live twins share the same effect that if you don't control a monster, when this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon the opposite one from your hand or your deck, which is a really good effect to be able to just special summon the opposite one. For example, the effect states that if this card is normal or special summon, then you control no other monsters, you can special summon one Lilia monster from your hand or deck, and you can only special summon, or you can only use the effect of Live Twin Yugioh once per turn. And they also have really interesting effects as well, that each time your opponent's monster declares an attack, you gain 500 life points, where Lilia makes your opponent pay 500 life points to be able to use her effect, or to be able to attack into your monsters, which is kind of neat as well. And she has the ability that if you normal or special summon her while you control no other monsters, then you can special summon one Yugioh monster from your hand or deck, and you can only use the effect of her once per turn. So it's a really good effect. We then play a single copy of Evil Twins Yugioh and Lilia. Lilia and Yugioh, the combined version, is really neat. You just play it as a one-of because you don't want to draw multiple copies of this, because it has the ability that it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by attributing 2 link monsters, and if this card is special summoned, you can activate this effect. If your opponent controls 3 or more cards, they must send cards to the graveyard so they only control 2 cards. So this card borderline just evenly matches your opponent almost, which is what's really amazing, but it doesn't have any drawbacks to it. And you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. And then while you have a Yugioh monster in your graveyard and a Lilia monster in your graveyard, this card gains 2200 attack and defense, going all the way up to 4400 in attack and defense. This card is really, really good at being a good beat stick and being able to attack your opponent at 4400 and be a good defensive card too as well, having a 4400 defense barrier against you, which is really nice too. We then play 3 copies of Parallel Xyz. Parallel Xyz, since it is a Cyverse deck, this card comes in really handy to be able to special summon to your side of the field. If this card is special summon, you also get to special summon another Parallel Xyz to your side of the field from your deck, which is a really good effect just to be able to get you an additional one onto your side of the field. I really like that effect to be able to just get another one out, because it's super helpful just to have additional plays to be able to go into your copy of your evil twins, because you only have to be able to go into a Yugioh or a copy of Lilia to be able to go into your plays, and this card kind of backs up to be able to let you link climb. We then played 2 copies of Backup Secretary. Backup Secretary is kind of neat because if you control a Cyverse monster, you can special summon her from your hand, but you can only special summon her once per turn this way. But she's really helpful to be able to just special summon to your side of the field when you like normal summon out a copy of one of your live twin monsters. After you get the second one out to your side of the field, you can then special summon out your copy of Backup Secretary to extend your plays. And she's just really good, especially if, for example, you normal summon out a copy of your Yugioh and somebody blocks it. When they block this, you can then special summon out the Backup Secretary. If they hand trap this with like an Ash or a Veiler or an Impermanence, you can then special summon out your copy of Backup Secretary and then use that to go into your Evil Twin Yugioh in your extra deck, which is super helpful to be able to extend your plays. We then play a single copy of Cyverse Converter. Cyverse Converter is one of those cards that's kind of like Backup Secretary, but you don't want to play 3 Backup Secretary because you can only use your effect once per turn. And it has the ability, if all monsters you control are Cyverse monster, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And you can only special summon this card once per turn this way, and when this card is normal summoned, you get to target one face-up monster your opponent controls, or one face-up card you control, and it becomes a Cyverse until the end of the turn, which is kind of neat, but you're basically just using it to be able to use as an extender to special summon to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So Ash Blossom is really good in the deck too, because it's just an overall good hand trap to be able to stop your opponent from doing anything with the deck. We play 2 copies of Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell is becoming a really good hand trap recently because of a lot of decks being able to use in the graveyard, especially Drytron, because when an effect is activated, it includes the effect of add cards from your graveyard to your hand, adding cards from the graveyard to the hand deck and or extra deck, special summoning a monster from the graveyard, or banishing cards from the graveyard, you can just discard this card to negate the activation. So this card's really good just to stop graveyard effects. We then play 2 copies of Effect Veiler as well. The Effect Veilers just come in handy as well to be able to just stop your opponent from doing monster effects on the field. So this card's really, really good in the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we are going to be playing a single copy of Call by the Grave. The Call by the Grave is really good in the deck just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you, because you really want to get your first normal summon off in the deck with your copy of your Kill, because that is going to be basically your starter play that you always need to go off with, so you can link summon into your copy of Evil Twin Kill. We then play a single copy of Monster Reborn just so we can extend our plays a little bit, because it is a link climb deck. Monster Reborn comes in quite handy. One copy of World Legacy Succession, it is basically a link deck. Well, it is a link deck, so using this card is really nice to be able to just climb in the deck to be able to get a higher link monster on the field. One copy of Pot of Avarice, because you want to shuffle your copies of your Kills and your Lilias back into the deck to be able to use them again and again. 3 copies of Signet Mining. Signet Mining is really nice because it lets you send a card from your hand to the graveyard to add 1 level 4 lower Cyverse monster from your deck to your hand, which is always going to be Kill if you don't already have her. So this card's really nice to be able to get your cards from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Live Twin Home. Live Twin Home is really awesome, and I will say that's why I mentioned that they're YouTubers, is because if you look, they're like advertising their YouTube channel, which is really cool. And the card artwork, I really like that, to be able to do that. The art style of the deck, like, it's really cool. But basically what it does is you discard 1 card to be able to special summon a Kill or a Lilia monster from your deck, and also for the rest turn out this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for Evil Twin monsters, and you only activate this card once per turn. It's a really good card in the deck to be able to just deal with your opponent. We then play 3 copies of Secret Password. Secret Password is really good because it lets you add an Evil Twin or a Live Twin or an Evil Twin spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And if you control a Kill monster and control a Lilia monster, then you can add an Evil Twin monster from your deck to your hand, which is going to be that one that we mentioned earlier that you only play as a one of, which is the combo between both of them, which is the Kill and the Lilia monster that you're going to add from your deck to your hand sometimes to be able to just summon it to your side of the field to evenly match your opponent. Now, one thing I will mention to you guys is I did consider playing droplets in the deck, but I wanted to make it a little bit more budget. So for anybody who wants to play droplets in the deck, you could feasibly drop, say, the copy of Call by the Grave and the 2 Effect Veilers, and it would make it a little bit more where you could throw in the 3 copies of droplets, because droplets has really good synergy in the deck, and it's a really good card in this deck, but I didn't want to play it in my particular build. Or you could feasibly drop 1 copy of the Live Twins Home and 2 copies of the Effect Veiler, and it would get you exactly what you needed to play the droplets. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Evil Twin Present. Evil Twin Present is kind of neat because I like this card because it lets you switch control, which is kind of cool, because if you control a Kill monster and control a Lilia monster, you can activate one of these effects to either target a Kill monster or a Lilia monster you control, and one face of monster opponent controls, and you switch control of those monsters. And your Evil Twin monsters only sit at 1100, so they're very like low attack point monsters. So giving them to your opponent is not that big of a deal to be able to take a powerful monster away from your opponent. And you can almost use this as a disruption, because if your opponent is about to link summon or synchro summon or something like that, or XZ summon, you can just give them one of these and take away pretty much their extension play, which is kind of nice. And it also has the ability that you can set 1 spell or trap card, or target 1 set spell or trap card your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck. I wish this said just target 1 spell or trap and shuffle it into the deck. It'd be a lot better of a card, but it's still pretty good as a one of to kind of deal with certain cards in certain instances. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Judgment is just really good at saying no to everything in this deck to be able to stop your opponent while you're trying to go off with your plays. And then we play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence as well. Infinite Impermanence is kind of like 3 more Effect Veilers to be able to stop your opponent, which is why I mentioned if you want to drop the 2 Effect Veilers and 1 Live Twin Home, you can drop that to be able to play droplets in the deck. So that's it for the traps and the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Evil Twin Kill. Kill is really good in this deck too, because basically what she does She's basically the starter of the entire deck because she has the ability, if this card is special summon and you control a Lilia monster, you can draw 1 card. And then during your main phase, if you do not control a Lilia monster, then quick effect, you can special summon a Lilia monster from your graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Fiend monsters. And you can only see the effect of her once per turn. So the ideal play on your side of the field is to have a Lilia, a Kill, and a copy of Nightmare Griffin on your side of the field just to be able to lock your opponent down. We then play 2 copies of Evil Twin Lilia. Lilia is really good in this deck too. She's basically the card that you're going to go into after you go into Kill, because she has the ability to, if this card is special summon and you control a Kill monster, then you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. And then during the main phase, if you do not control a Kill monster, then you can special summon a Kill monster from the graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So basically, your basic combo of the deck is going to be to normal summon out a copy of Kill, special summon out a copy of Lilia, link them together, summon out a copy of Kill, and then use Kill to revive back your Lilia, and then link the Lilia and the Kill together to summon out the evil twin of Lilia, and then use her effect to bring back your copy of Kill, and then you can only go into Fiend, so at that point you can go into a copy of either Nightmare Griffin, depending on what you have. If you have a revival spell, I would definitely go into Nightmare Griffin, so you could go ahead and have a copy of maybe Unchained Abomination as a backup play. But there's a lot of different plays that you can go into there because you have a link of 4 on your side of the field at that point. But that's the basic play of the deck. Depending on what else you have, depends on how far you can go with it. We then play a single copy of Unchained Abomination because it is a link 4 Fiend monster. So it comes in really handy in the deck to be able to go into this card, and it's a really amazing card that pops multiple cards per turn. 1 copy of Nightmare Griffin. Nightmare Griffin is an insane card. This is like one of the first times I've used it in a lot of decks, but it's really good in this deck because it has the ability, if it's link summon, you can discard a card to target a spell trap in the graveyard and set it back to the field, but it cannot be activated this turn. Then, if this card is co-linked, when this effect was activated, you get to draw a card, and you can only effect this card once per turn. And then special summon monsters on the field cannot activate their effects unless they are linked, which is a really good effect because usually what you end up doing is putting this in your column 3, putting this in column 4, and putting this in column 2, where they're basically pointing to one another and they're not going to be linked. So it's basically locking your opponent and skill draining your opponent, which is what's really neat. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker because it is a Cyverse deck and you play a lot of different attributes in the deck. You play a single copy of Transcode Talker. Transcode Talker revives back your link monsters from the graveyard to be able to go into additional monsters. Unicorn because it is a fiend and it spins stuff. Phoenix because it pops spells and traps. Splash Magician because it can help you revive your Cyverse monsters from the graveyard to link climb. 1 copy of IP Masquerena. Masquerena can help you link into stuff like Access Code Talker or Unicorn during your opponent's turn. 1 copy of Link Disciple and Link Devotee. This is basically here in case you get hand trapped. You're going to be able to link into these and go off with additional plays to be able to draw cards and be able to link climb as well. So that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really neat deck. I tried to build this one a little bit more budget by not playing droplets in the deck. I know I'm playing Access Code Talker in here, but you can drop Access Code Talker if you want to for Borreload or Boral Sword. It's totally fine. It wouldn't really hurt the deck too much if you did drop this, because basically what you're going to be doing with the deck is having a field kind of set up like this with hand traps where you're going to have Kill, you're going to have Lilia, and then you're usually going to have Nightmare Griffin in the middle like this in your column 3 where the extra monster zones are going to be here, to be able to lock your opponent down, to be able to make it so they can't go into any plays, because you're basically skill draining them, and then you back it up with Solemn Judgments and hand traps to be able to stop your opponent. So it's a very control based deck, which is kind of neat. So that's pretty much it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play with. I highly recommend, if you guys haven't picked this deck up, you should, because you can get pretty much the entire deck if you don't play droplets or Access Code Talker. You can get the deck for around $100. Like, it's not insanely expensive right now, and that's what's really cool. Each one of the link monsters are going to run you about 10, I think, and then the rest of the deck is pretty much like budget. Like, it's not expensive at all. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.